10 years ago, a revolutionary story in Detective Comics was released. 10 years ago, the state of DC changed forever. Welcome, everybody. Today we're talking about Flashpoint. I am your host, DJ.
Jacob.
This is my friend Carl. This is my other friend, Jacob. Say hi, pals.
Hi.
Hi, pals.
Lovely. All right, so today we're talking about Flashpoint. What is the first thing that comes to your guys' minds when you hear Flashpoint?
I think of New 52.
New 52?
Also,
Wow.
the beautiful story that it has.
Carl?
I think about the badass Batman.
Fair enough. All right, so for the uninitiated, Flashpoint was a story that was released back in 2011 by DC Comics. It was written by Jeff Johns and with the art drawn by Andy Kubert. And it tells the story of the Flash, Barry Allen, going back in time to save his mother from being murdered. For those, I'm hoping anyone who's watching this knows the story of Barry Allen and the Flash mythos, at least to a certain degree.
Yeah, you've probably seen the show at some point or
Yeah.
heard about it.
Yeah, he goes back in time and saves his mother.
So we're going to do the same thing with this and use the Speed Force to go back 10 years. And we're going to go over the story. We're going to go over the comic. We're going to go over the DC animated movie. And we are going to go over the Flashpoint TV show arc. And let's
The
get started.
controversial arc.
Let's get started.
We have words to say about that. Anyway, so since I have the whole 6-book collection here, I feel like it was only appropriate that I tackled the comic point of Flashpoint.
If we ever review the Batman Hush movie, I'll be the one who reviews the book.
All right. So, like I said, the Flash, he goes back in time and saves his mother. But when he comes back to the present, a lot of unforeseen disasters happen. The world's in turmoil. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are at war. Bruce Wayne is dead, with his father, Thomas, taking the role of Batman. It's just everything's a complete mess. And so the story follows Barry and Thomas as they go to try to stop this war and save this world before Barry's memories of his previous one fades away forever. That's the general idea.
Yeah. You can get into the nitty-gritty of it. But that's,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different details I can go into, such as the unique introduction of the Shazam kids, Citizen Cold, all that stuff. But
Today, we're not going to get into that. We're going to be talking about the legacy of it.
exactly. Because, as I said at the top of this video, almost 10 years ago, and it's almost crazy seeing as this comic launched what we know as the New 52, which was basically this big reboot for DC.
Yeah.
For most of their characters.
Quite a few.
Except for
Your
Batman.
Your Batman and your
52. I love the Flash. I love Nightwing. I like Batman. I also have
the New 52 brought in some really good stuff.
It did. Also a lot of bad stuff, but and that's what you get with every single.
Oh yeah.
Don't get DJ started on New 52 Lobo.
We do not speak of New 52 Lobo, Carl. There's 3 things you don't talk about at the dinner table: politics, religion, and New 52 Lobo. Okay? Okay. But before we get sidetracked, the New 52 was a new era in DC. That can't be stated enough.
Yeah, it was.
This story was directly responsible for what the New 52 brought us.
When I grew up with, well, my first comics were DC, were Rebirth. I went back and I've read some of the New 52 stuff, and it's good.
Yeah. And, you know, it's crazy because it almost feels like the New 52 was forever ago,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's
Oh
ancient.
yeah, because we've had so many changes in DC. After New 52, we went right into DCU, then right into Convergence, into DC Rebirth, into now the Future State, and now into Infinite Frontier era.
Infinite Frontier is going well so far, at least from what I've read.
And by what we've heard as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're not reading Nightwing, that's a big suggest. Sorry.
You're a mark.
Sorry. It's a subtle Nightwing plug.
No, we all love Nightwing here. We all love Dick.
I know we all don't like Damien.
Yeah. The jury's out on that one.
But anyway. Yeah, it feels like forever ago that the New 52 happened, but yet this May? This May is the official 10-year anniversary. 10 years. It feels long, but when put in the perspective of what the New 52 gave us, it doesn't feel that long.
No, it doesn't. Feels like a couple of years ago I could have found this at a comic store.
Yep.
Exactly. So, we've all read Flashpoint in our own time, and in fact, together. We all got in a group and read it together. And
Yes, we did.
It was a solid story, and it got me at the end. I didn't much feel it with the movie, mostly because I read the book first, but the story was touching.
it does have its fair share of emotional moments, even though it doesn't seem like a story that would portray that.
Emotions, yeah.
Because on the surface, it just looks like a buddy cop movie between Barry Allen and not Batman.
Okay, spoiler alert for the movie here. When we were reading that letter from Bruce Wayne, well, we didn't read it, but when Bruce Wayne got that letter from his dad in the other dimension, it really got you in the feels.
It really did, because, up to that point, yes, Bruce knew his dad, but he was taken away from him way too soon.
Yeah, Bruce lost his father at 8.
That's a traumatic thing for a kid to experience.
I'm going to cover the DC animated movie here and say that so you can watch the movie, you don't need to read the book. But I do suggest reading the book.
Yes.
That's going to be the end of my section on the movie because it doesn't need to be talked. And when you go into it, the animation is going to look a little blocky. It's going to look a little weird. But if you can get past that, it's a good story.
Yeah. And I've gone on record saying this is my favorite Flash story. Now, granted, I haven't read everything got to do with the Flash. Yes, he's one of my favorite superheroes, but I've not read everything concerning the Flash. But from what I've read, this is my favorite Flash story. And the fact that I was able to share it with you guys just really meant a lot to me.
And
I feel like a lot of people maybe not feel the same way, but feel a certain connection to Flashpoint, seeing what it's given us over the years. Oh yeah. I mean, it's given us Thomas Wayne.
Which, fun fact, he actually did return in DC Rebirth in Tom King's Batman run.
Yes, he did. We could talk about that some other time.
Should we?
We could if we really wanted
It's-
to,
it's-
but
it's-
not right now.
It's worth talking about at some point.
Fine. Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've covered a little bit of how the original story is, move on to the CW one.
Oh
Yeah.
boy, we have some words about this. Okay, so
season 2 ended.
so I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Flash TV show that appears on as a part of CW's quote unquote Arrowverse. Well, up to that point, the Flash started season 3 with an episode called Flashpoint. And it basically sums up this whole story that spans multiple issues in one 40-minute episode.
A pretty crappy job at that, too.
Now, on the surface, it may seem a little like a daunting task, but you know what? I say it could have been done. However, when we actually get to the scope of it, didn't really pan out as well.
So
You mind
I grabbed a couple highlights from the episode that we have. So the changes to the continuity were Henry and Nora are alive, and Barry grew up with them in their house. Barry never lived with the West, so he didn't have the bond with them. He did stay in touch with Iris, though. Joe is estranged to his daughter, and he's unfortunately an alcoholic. Wally became the Flash instead of Barry, who got a connection to the Speed Force. Let's see the other one. Cisco Ramon became a CEO of Remote Industries, which just happens to be where Star Labs used to be in the main continuity. And Caitlin Snow is an ophthalmologist, I think.
Well, that's good and all, but there's one or two maybe glaring problems with the CW's iteration of Flashpoint.
One, it was short.
In the original story, the world is on the brink of destruction. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are literally tearing the world apart due to their petty little feud going on. However, in the CW's Flashpoint, the only stakes brought in are Barry's previous memories.
Which happened in the book, too, don't forget.
Anymore. He's basically created his iteration of a perfect world. Sort of.
Study that's interesting, but for plot, it doesn't.
Like, I feel like this could have, on paper, this could have been great for just a standalone episode. But the fact it had to be called Flashpoint and take certain points from the book really brings it down for me.
I'd almost say it's a soft adaptation.
Yeah, it's like Flashpoint Light.
That's why I'd say it's not actually in the running for it as much. It's not really what I expected from.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad episode, per se. It's more so just a bad interpretation.
Oh, the only bad thing that happened was Wally died.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, Wally is completely absent from the original story.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, because this version of Wally didn't even exist in the main continuity when the story was created.
Nope. Remember, we're thinking in the scope of 10 years ago. Back when You could post a full movie on YouTube and get away with it.
Nowadays, you can't do that.
Oh, no. Back when dinosaurs were still around. But yeah, we've covered the three most famous iterations of this story, but I want to get your guys' personal thoughts about it.
I think that it's a great story, and it's touching, has great art. It's a good comic.
Yeah, Andy Kubert sure did a great job with this art. I gotta agree.
What about you, Carl?
It's a great story. It helped make the New 52, which I still think is one of the best-selling eras for DC in the recent 20 years of comics.
Despite all of its faults, you can't deny its success.
No.
It has its
Yes.
highs and its lows.
But
Just like every era.
I'd say that's every new initiative always has its highs and lows.
Nobody bats 1,000. It's just impossible to be continuously great.
Like Marvel, how much people love Marvel. I think at the same time as New 52, Marvel Now is happening, or all new, all different Marvel. And that bombed like heck.
Mm-hmm.
It was not
Hands
popular.
raised if you even remember it. Carl, put your hand down.
I don't remember it actually that much.
But yeah,
I think that's going to be about it for this episode. I don't think we have much else to talk about.
now hold on. Now, I know this wasn't quite an in-depth review, but there is one thing I want to ask you guys.
Okay.
Alright. Normally with our movie reviews, we give our letter grades. And I know we haven't exactly explained to our viewers every little tidbit about the story, but since we've all read it, I want to ask, what do you grade Flashpoint?
I'd give
Every iteration, the comic, the TV, and movie.
Okay, so the comic gets an A. The movie gets a B plus,
Okay.
and then the light adaptation gets a B.
All right.
It's wait, no, B minus.
B minus.
I can't put enough to the movie.
All right. Carl.
Comic gets an A plus. Movie, I give it a A minus.
All right.
And then the Arrowverse episode, I'm minus a few good moments. I'd have to give it a B minus as well.
I'm gonna throw a little mix in here. I gotta agree with Carl. This is an A plus story for me. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing of all time, but I could read it again and again. I could personally say that. Maybe it's because I'm a big mark for the Flash. That being said, I give the movie an A minus.
Were there any issues that you had with it?
Yes, there were, like, I very much enjoyed the movie. I think it's a really, really good movie. But at the same time, yes, there is quite a few things that I have a problem with, such as the opening scene with Eobard Thawne and the Rogues.
Oh, so
I
you
think-
think the changing of the events made it different?
Not necessarily. I feel like they keep it at a good pace. But honestly, for such a big story, I feel like the movie could use a little bit more time. I don't know if that's just me.
Considering we're dealing with a 5-issue miniseries here, I don't think you could give it much time.
True. But
I don't think they were going to give like 4 hours like the Zack
Oh, no,
Snyder's
no.
Justice League stuff.
But still, I feel like they could have done a little bit more, because the average DC animated movie run the time was like an hour and 10 minutes. Something close to that.
Yeah,
I just thought something a little closer to feature length might have suit my fancy a little more. I don't know. But Yeah, same issue as you said. Characters look a little blocky. I didn't particularly care for Thomas Wayne's voice actor,
I think it was a little gristly.
but that's more so a nitpick. But as for CW, I'm gonna be a little bit more harsh. I give the CW a C. I was tempted to give it a C minus, but I don't think it's that bad. But as someone who adores the original story, I can't give it more than a C. That's just me.
I see your point.
So, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Well, I thought I'd go over
Your mic,
these 10 things that the Flashpoint story changed in the DC universe for the better.
Go ahead, my friend.
Well, the first thing they did is they simplified the continuity, which was the main goal of the New 52. They promoted Cyborg to be a founding member of the Justice League. They swapped out Martian Manhunter for him. Go back for him.
Rip. I like Martian Manhunter.
We also got a younger Barry Allen out of this. We got another thing. Steve Trevor returned to prominence in the DC universe. New stories with Barbara as Batgirl. Batgirl's back as Barbara Gordon. For a while, she's been Oracle. Before then, Harley joined the Suicide Squad. Yeah. They added a new mythology to Wonder Woman with a very creepy new origin.
Origins aside.
DC embraced their dark side. But they did self-serious and generally bleak stories.
Yeah, I can tell that from the New 52 Nightwing run.
And then another thing they did was villains took a spotlight in here. And Jacob might remember this. He literally just read it a few days ago. 2 years into the New 52, the Forever Evil comic event was published.
Very good book.
And one of the main things out of the Flashpoint thing was Scott Snyder taking over Batman and shaping the future of the DC universe. With stuff like Dark Knight's Metal and Dark Knight's Death Metal leading into Infinite Frontier.
All was possible.
Thanks to Flashpoint.
I feel like there's no better way to sum it up. Flashpoint is incredibly influential to the DC universe as we see it today. And I feel like it will go down in history as maybe not the greatest comic book of all time, but certainly one that changed the game. Any final thoughts, Jacob?
No, I think you summed it up well.
Alrighty then. Thank you all for tuning in. Sorry we vanished for a month.
Sorry, we went on a little hiatus. A little bit of a technical issue, but
we'll be getting back
sooner.
We'll be getting back. We'll have something out by next week, and I think you guys are gonna like it. We're not gonna drop it now, but
no spoilers.
Yeah. But until next time, stay cultured, you cabbages.
Peace, y'all.